Hi everyone, this is Kyle Welch with RCR Wireless News. Now in today's webinar, we'll be talking to Scott Shelley, VP of Business Development, and Raymond Chu, CTO at Local Backhaul Networks, about the role of SLA reporting in wireless backhaul and how service providers are addressing these sorts of mandates. I'd now like to hand the presentation over to Scott to discuss SLA reporting in backhaul.
Thank you, Kyle, and thank everyone for attending today. We will be demonstrating a very powerful platform, Ocular IP. The Ocular IP 4.0 is what we'll be demonstrating today. It's actually the fourth major release in approximately the last 4 years. Just to give everybody kind of a level set, Ocular IP is now used in over 85 carriers worldwide, all of whom take advantage of the enhancements and updates automatically. As Kyle mentioned, I'm Scott Shelley. Along with me is Raymond Chu of LB Networks, Local Backhaul Networks. Raymond's the CTO and Chief Architect of Ocular IP, and he'll be doing the demonstration today. A little background on Raymond. Prior to LB Networks, Raymond was the Chief Technology Officer of American Broadband, a large national service provider that supported over 40,000 business and carrier class circuits. Prior to that, Raymond's tenure included getting a master's of telecommunications at Washington University, director of engineering at Marconi Ericsson Forest Systems, and stints with the MPLS Forum and identification of the TS-189 Ethernet specification. Brief agenda for today. We'll go over an overview of LB Networks, a very short commercial, and then we'll jump into probably the best use case today for service assurance and customer portal, wireless backhaul. The reason why wireless backhaul is so important is that the telecom market now seems to follow the wireless market, and they have defined and now refined the requirements and mandates for service delivery and service assurance reporting. And we're seeing the same demand for service assurance and portals from major telecom buyers as well. This includes large enterprises, healthcare, government, finance, as well as wholesale areas. Second, carriers are moving toward the network as a service architecture, including SDN, NFV, and LSO. And as you make those migrations, it is imperative to have service assurance and analytics foundation to properly implement those strategies, and we'll discuss a little bit of that as well. Finally, there are many inherent benefits for the service provider transport industry for utilizing service assurance. Reduced OpEx, we've seen reductions in the number of calls to call centers, reduction in trouble tickets, and better network performance as well as revenue attainment. However, when you think about this, there's also an inherent risk, as now the reports and the visualization that you share with your customers is their view of your service and your company, your offerings. But we'll demonstrate that today, how you can control and how 85 different carriers are controlling and optimizing their view of their services to their customers in a live demo of the live software. First, as I mentioned, a quick overview. Who's LB Networks? It's really Local Backhaul Networks. Local Backhaul Networks focuses in 3 core areas, from professional services. And when we talk about professional services, we do EF&I, installation, test, turn-up, as well as managed NOC services in the life cycle. We've worked for the largest carriers, Verizon Wireless, Charter, Time Warner, now merging together as everybody's aware, as well as regional providers and data center companies such as LinkedIn, Rackspace, basically 20,000 work orders in the last few years. What does this mean? This means that we have an understanding of your lifestyle, of what you're facing on a day-to-day basis and delivering service for our customers. We're independent. We're not tied into a technology. In fact, we'll talk about the support of multiple technologies. But getting back to the use case of the wire, as I call it, the wireless service delivery chain, have basically a fairly familiar, simplistic view of it right here. But what we're seeing from our nearly 100 clients and industry organizations is how the expectations are changing through the delivery chain. And it's driven by the end users, driven by us. It's driven by all of us on the phone here. We live in an on-demand world. We're used to our apps being available all the time, whether it's your Uber ride, you check the utilities, I can see what my energy usage is in my home, or even my cell service. And these apps are being driven by Webscale providers, for example, like an AWS. With AWS, you can log on and see your performance, utilization at any given second. And with a credit card, you can actually buy more services in real time. In fact, you can actually set it up with AWS to have, or other Webscale providers to provision more VMs, processing, and storage as you need it. Because the reason why you would need it is because your business demand is driving resource demand. They are now aligned together. And what we're seeing is this demand is being pressed down to the wireless carrier. The wireless carrier basically, almost most cases, owns the RAN. And they have complete control, visibility of their asset. And they can manage this asset to deliver services to their clients. When you take the next section of it into the backhaul environment, what happens is they lose control. They lose visibility. And not only that, it's their biggest OpEx. It's probably the biggest hit to their bottom line. So what did the wireless carriers do? They moved as much of that responsibility to the transport providers. And if you think about what they really want is they want to buy the service, but they want to feel like they own it. They really want a partnership. And what we've seen, this has been going on for several years, but in the last few years, there's new requirements are coming out from nearly all the major wireless carriers, increasing the amount of metrics that you need to track, increasing the calculations and definitions. They're not getting any easier. When you think about this, this does provide an opportunity. It allows you to minimize your exposure via utilizing a workflow-driven platform that can utilize best practices that are being mandated by these SLAs to meet the requirements of the service delivery. In addition, as we mentioned earlier, you reduce your OpEx, the number of trouble tickets, your calls, and improve your customer satisfaction and loyalty. We're thinking about that. Why? Obviously, there are many reasons why you want to improve customer satisfaction and loyalty. But when you think of it as the last bullet here states, it's especially becoming more important now. We're seeing the changes, more changes come down from the wireless carriers are because many of the contracts renewals are coming due in the near term. And that's going to the next evolution for the transport providers. We're looking at, you have competition out there. And in fact, much of your competition could be driven by the opportunity in cell tower backhaul, wireless backhaul. It's providing a financial initiative for overbuilders and other alternative providers to overbuild other carriers. We're also seeing the FCC, such as they just mandated with Charter, that they must overbuild multiple markets. So that's going to introduce a new competitor. But when you think about it, how do you improve and lock your customer in, become sticky with your customer? It's enhancing your customer experience, providing a portal for that customer, sharing the proper data with your customer. And when you can identify what data you want to share with them and provide to them to provide the best visualization of your service. There's another advantage to that is all of that type of monitoring, measuring of service assurance is going to be mandated, is going to be an underlying requirement for NFV, SDN, or LSO. And that provides us to, what do you look at as the real foundations of a good service assurance application? Working from the bottom up, what you want is a Webscale platform. And I don't say what you want, it's what you have to have. If you think about this and you go through what you're going to be doing here. You want to, as a carrier, be able to buy and align your purchases of service assurance along with your business model. So the more successful you are, the more you will buy. But you don't want to have to be required to buy in the old legacy model services that you don't need or systems that you don't need. So a Webscale analytics platform that can start today with service assurance and be utilized for other applications in the future. We have customers with 25 circuits up to 25,000 circuits. So the platform scales, you know, versus an appliance or a legacy application, and you only pay for what you use. We'll actually show you, visualize the multi-tenant, multi-domain, and unlimited user capability of the system. And think about that. You don't want to be, hand-tied into being able to, make changes to a system that was not originally architected as a web-scale, multi-tenant based application. The next thing is all the carriers out there have this tremendous investment in network technologies, OSS systems, EMS systems, back office systems. So it needs to be able to be technology independent and integrate and support those. The key for that is being able to also support granular data. And we'll get into that. Why is it so important? We just talked about some of the new mandates coming down from the wireless carriers. You need to know what happened minute by minute 6+ months ago, because that's when they'll say, we want to go back and review the performance of a given point in time. And we'll go into that, and that rolls right up to what we call our optimized SLA analytics. And you think about the analytics, it's an application, SLA assurances. We'll show you how you can optimize your reporting to those carriers, showing the highest amount you can of allowable availability, for example, through utilizing smart maintenance or maintenance periods properly as they calculate it through theirs. They have multiple level calculations as well, as I call it. And we'll be able to go through that today through the demonstration. And then the key resting on the very top is a customer portal, allowing your customer to see this information, or alerting your customer of situations, alerting your customer of resolutions, allowing your customer, as we do with all the other applications, to self-subscribe, self-service the application. So what we're going to do is a demonstration today, as mentioned, of Ocular IP. We call it a performance measurement reporting customer portal platform. Number one in performance portals out there in the industry. We have over 85 carriers. It's a proven application, very flexible, and we'll show it to you today. The customer portal capabilities, addressing today's area, it exceeds all the cell carrier mandates. If you look, I think the quote from the customer, Ocular IP strengthens our ability to provide a precise level of reporting, which is a vital differentiator for us as a premium service provider. And you would think about that is key to the cell tower industry, but by the way, this is actually for their financial services industry. So now I'll turn it over to Raymond.
Thank you, Scott. I will go ahead and share my screen. And thank you all for attending our webinar as well. And hopefully Scott provided a really good introduction in terms of the Ocular IP platform, the use cases, and what I'm going to be demonstrating to you today. And hopefully everyone will be able to see my screen here. I've got it shared here. If you can't, just send a message over. But we are currently seeing our live system. This is an Ocular IP live demonstration system. We have some different lab circuits and some production circuits on our system as well, so I'll be showing that to you throughout the demonstration. But I'm going to key into 7 really important key aspects of our service assurance delivery platform. Right now I'm logged in, and this is the welcome screen everyone would see when they log into the system. I'm going to be moving on, but really quick, you can target different welcome messages. And think of this as Scott mentioned, the customer experience management. You can put messages up for when your customers log into your portal to see maintenance notifications, outage notifications, more importantly though, new product services and announcements. And you can target those on a per customer basis as well. So you can make it across the entire board, by region, by market, internally in your organization, or for your end customers as well. Now I am logged in as administrator, and up top you'll see just 5 basic menu options to go through. I'm going to first start with the circuit manager and work my way across. But as we designed the Ocular IP platform from the very beginning stages of our software, we had to make sure that the entire system was simple and intuitive and very easy to use, both from your own organization standpoint, but just think, if you're going to allow someone to have access to see the performance of the network and use the portal and have self-subscription capabilities, it's got to be simple. You can't sit there and train them for hours upon hours, so we designed it to be very intuitive from that standpoint. Now I am on the circuit manager screen, and this is what I like to call the executive dashboard. I'm just going to expand all my different domains out here. We've got the nice, traditional green good. We got the red bad. This lets you know at a very quick glance at an executive level how all my domains are behaving health-wise. And they'll always lead to the question of what is a domain. So a domain is, think of it as an organizational structure where you can build these domains, you can name them however you like, and you can organize it based upon how your network's built out. These are some of the best practices by some of our customers. And really up top here, I'll show you, this is carrier's domain. And below that is a nesting of type 2 partners, for example, NNI interconnects with partners that you're using to deliver end-to-end services on. And this is very helpful so that if someone was calling in and asking about the performance of an end-to-end service like a customer and it used a type 2 partner, you can quickly see is it your internal side of the network issues having problems or which particular type 2 partner is having a problem, and you can even do scorecarding against it as well. Another really good use case is very simplistically by clients. You can have different backhaul customers on here, like backhaul. You can have financial customers, healthcare customers, wireless mobility here. And these are, again, domains that you decide to create and customize in the system. And then really it leads itself to access permissions in our system as well. Scott mentioned that it's really, our platform is completely Webscale. You don't have to worry about the resources of the platform itself. We continually scale it up. There's no licenses by user, for example. So you can build these domains. You can assign unlimited access to different users, your customers, and internal organization to access. And what they'll see underneath it is the services that you grant them access to. Some other quick key best practices by head-end and CO. So if you have a lot of services and circuits coming into a specific CO or head-end facility or a POP facility, and they're having problems, you'll quickly know and identify what area of your network is suffering from problems. Likewise, you can do it by markets. And here you may have different field teams and operational teams and even sales groups that handle different regions or markets, so they can have access to those services within it. And finally, by service type. It could be dedicated internet access, for example, Metro Ethernet service offering, IPVPN services, and future SDN NFV services as well. So this is the overall executive dashboard. And this is at a simplistic view, how I can see things. But what happens if I want to drill in on something? So now I'll just simply click on wireless mobility.
Hey, Raymond, we did have one question.
Sure.
Are circuits assigned to domains? Or?
Yeah, very good. Circuits can actually be assigned to multiple domains. So that's a very key important feature of our domain structure set, is that just because a service is in one of the domains, it doesn't mean it can't be in a market domain or a service type domain or a type 2 partner domain. So that's one of the very key benefits of the Ocular IP system, to enable services to be in multiple domains. Okay. Now I'm looking at one specific domain. This is the wireless mobility domain. And again, you see the green good, red bad, and all the different color codes behind it. We allow you as the administrator, being the carrier, to decide what kind of threshold you set for each for the events that get created to determine that health condition. And our analytics engine continually runs as live characteristic data flows into the system, and we compare it against 2 different manual thresholds that can be set, like an SLA, which is what you as a carrier sell to your wireless customers and other types of customers. We have an internal application one as well, and then we have a dynamic one. And again, it's run on a per circuit basis, and the dynamics of our analytics system says, we'll look at the characteristic circuit since it was originally started. A lot of people call it the birth certificate. I like to call it the optimal performance of the circuit. And then we run it through a continuous formula over a period of time to determine if degradation is occurring on your system. And there are lots of different facets that could cause that. Maybe there was some firmware upgrades on some network equipment in the core, subtenant rings, or the edge. Maybe it is just a lot of circuits being sold and capacities being used for it. So if we see those, our analytics engines will actually tell you when degradation is occurring. The other thing is, on the left-hand side here, we have what we call our overview profiles. And they're really custom profiles, think of it like that. So I'm just going to select the frame delay one, and I'll allow it to load. And on the frame delay, now you see it's the same 4 circuits we were just looking at, but you see different performance stats for those 4 circuits now. I see round trip, 2-way latency max, and so forth. And the couple of key things always come to mind. Again, we designed this to be a simple, intuitive customer portal. And we couldn't forecast what every one of the carriers wanted to show as a priority first to a customer. we also didn't know what you may want to show internally versus your end customer as well. So these particular KPIs are completely private label. You can rename them. So wireless carriers like to typically see them using formatting and name structures. More retail, healthcare, financial customers may want to see something a little bit more layman's like, so something like round trip. Internally, you may want to see max KPIs, but think to your end customer, you might not want to show them that max KPI, so you really kind of want to hide that away. And that's really our custom profiles. A product manager or the admin can simply log in, hit the edit button, and create add new profile, and immediately, dynamically, they can create this demo wireless profile. They can select the KPIs that they're interested in, and we support a multitude of KPIs, ranging from KPIs that are the raw PM stats we collect from all the different network elements. We have over 300 connectors today that allow us to be technology agnostic, to do performance metric collection in your network and feed it into our data center here. We have computed statistics like data delivery ratios, for example, and even input EVCs that actually calculate what the actual input usage is percentage by what the customer is using on that particular circuit. So I'll just go ahead and hit Save Fields here. And you heard me say before that we're not sure what certain people would like to see more important, but it just so happens that, you know, I'm being told that data delivery ratio is what I want to see first. And then I want to see my round trip. So I can sort them however I like, and then I'll save this. And as soon as I save it in real time here, you'll see a new profile name called Demo Wireless, the one I just created. I'll select that, and it's my same 4 circuits, because that's the domain I'm choosing for my demonstration here. And it's the same 4 circuits with the statistics that go with it as well. So it's very simple and intuitive to create these custom profiles. And once you create these, you can use these to view the performance statistics, or now you can also lock them in to specific customers. So certain customers that log in that you want to grant them access to the customer portal, this is the profile that you just created, and you're going to lock them in on that so they can view it and see it. Great. Now, what I'm going to do next is just click on the dashboard graphic. And this is a different profile I have created, and it's my same 4 circuits, but now I want to visualize what my circuits look like in comparison to one another. I might want to do some comparative visualization. So we have a feature called dashboard graphing. I simply select it, and in this window I can select the different circuits that I'm interested in seeing. So maybe it is this mobile backhaul tower location. I've got the same physical site, the same circuit, but it's 2 different VLANs or 2 different EVCs. I'm interested in seeing what their round trip's like between the 2, and I'm going to hit apply. Now this is loading 2 circuits in my lab environment up, and so the measurements are pretty much very similar to one another. And first I'm going to zoom in here. You can select the zoom, and you can see that the circuits here are about 84.46 milliseconds. And you'll notice that there's this large burst here, way up to 3,784. And what happened is, and I love showing this, this shows an example of circuits that actually suffered from packet loss issues during a maintenance window between midnight and 4 a.m. The service was actually brought down by our carrier partners that we're using here, and that's why it shows that. If I'm interested in seeing if that's the case, I can just select my packet loss KPI, hit apply again, and I'll let it load, and voila, it loads it up, and that's in fact where my packet loss started. It started right about midnight, all the way upwards, hit 100%, and then it restored itself around the 3:30 time frame. So very quickly and visually, you can see the performance of these KPI metrics associated with it. Really quick is a really neat feature as well. I'm going to pick on a circuit called the demo circuit number 1. And in here, it's got different types of circuit details. And in the circuit details, this is like, think of it like I clicked once to see the executive dashboard, right? I showed that at the very beginning. I clicked again to show all my circuits in a domain. And again, a domain could be all your customers or by market. And when I click one more time in the circuit details, now I'm looking at one specific circuit. And in this circuit, there's a lot of what I like to call customer and circuit metadata information that's associated with this service that we auto-detected through our 300 KPI connectors in your network. And the question that always comes up, people like to ask is, well, where do I get this circuit metadata, this customer metadata information? And it really comes from your inventory management system. and there's multiple ways of integrating that with our systems. If you want to automate it, we have a series of open standard REST APIs that the Ocular IP platform offers to all our customer base. And if you want to just manually configure it, you can as well. Or we have what's called a bulk provisioning, where you just download a CSV file and it provides you a template. You just export your data from your inventory management systems and just re-upload it, and that information is automatically assigned to the service. Some of these information you'll see is like the circuit ID, description, the geo coordinates, if you want to use geo mapping functionality in our portal, which we support Google Mapping, the CIR, EIRs, some custom fields like ACNA bands, FA codes, LADAs. You can even create your own descriptors in our system as well if you have more descriptions. A quick visualization of the circuit. This is an unprotected service. I got no packet loss currently going on between my two buildings here, and this is literally on our campus. We have two buildings here, which is why I like to pick on it and show people. We have an intelligence system and a built into our analytics engine called circuit scoring. And what it does, it tells you if your circuit amongst all your services in your company ID, and we are multi-tenant from that standpoint, how well this circuit's behaving in comparison to all the other services that exist. It may be in the top 1%, the top 5%, the top 25, the top half, maybe the bottom. And what this allows you to do as a carrier is quickly see which circuits you should really send your field teams out to, so you're sending your resources out to resolve problems in the best as educated manner as possible. It also allows an end customer, being the wireless carriers, to feel confident about their services they're buying from you as well. Down below here, you'll see real-time graphs down to 1-minute statistics, PM stats of all these different KPIs. And again, you can enable or disable not only the performance metrics, but the graphs that a user is allowed to access as well from the customer portal. Here's the nice utilization I have currently going on in my particular two buildings here on my campus. And if I was to, for example, look at my utilization graphs, one of the other features is I can select by time frame and customize how often I want to look at my data and when to. So I'll just look at the last day. I'll graph this. And you can go back months, days, weeks. Our system by default will actually store historical granular data down to 6 months plus a rolling month. And that's very important in the use case that Scott mentioned before about customers want to be able to go back and look at the performance of their services for a full 6 months. So we give all our customers 7 months. Some people upgrade to 13, and we never aggregate your data. Why is that? Our core philosophy is very simple. We want to be as precise and accurate as from a reporting standpoint as possible. If you start aggregating your data and you start aggregating together and you want to go back and add an exclusion period or an outage period to it, well, it's hard to get into those aggregated data points, so we maintain the full granular minute of it down to. In certain customers that are financial based, we have financial market providers out there, they do 1 second granularity in our system as well, so very deep, high resolution. But the reason why I wanted to show you my circuit between my two campus buildings here is because we also offer customers the ability to trend and forecast and see, well, how well or how much capacity do I need further out? And this goes for any of the latency statistics, jitter statistics, packet loss statistics as well. But let's just say I want to start forecasting this out. So I can simply drag my forecast bar out, and I can see that my bandwidth here will continue to grow based upon the usages that we're recording between our two campus buildings. Okay. All these graphs are very simplistic, yet they offer the full nice user interface, where you can just select a zoom, look into information. We got historical bars you can select and drag from. And then more importantly, to help you and your customers, the wireless customers, understand the performance of the circuit, you can export this data anytime. So you can export all the raw statistics out into a CSV and use it as well. Okay. I'll go back to Circuit Manager here, and I'll just show you one more item, and then I'll move on to another neat feature of our system. And I'm going to go back to the dashing graph board really quick. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to look at that same circuit I just showed you, that demo circuit number 1, and I'm going to look at my capacity usage, let's say, and I'm going to apply it. And by the way, when our dashboard graphs load, you can load up different graphs, dashboard graphs, and you can assign these and the permissions to access these on a per user basis as well. And why have I been saying you can assign this on a per user basis? Because really, when you think about a customer portal system, you want to decide what self-subscription features you want to offer your customers. And then number two, and now this is speaking more for the carriers, you probably want to monetize this service as well. So you have the ability to monetize the services and features. Do they get to see custom profiles? Do they get to see the visual dashboard graphs? Are they allowed to go back 1 month or 2 months by default and then maybe charge a premium to access the longevity of the historical data? Absolutely. So you have those capabilities. But looking at this circuit again, I'm going to enable our stacking feature here, and I'll just zoom in so you can see. Oh, hang on a second. It would help if I actually selected more circuits. And what I'm showing you is our stacking feature. And our stacking feature says, okay, let's look at how all of the KPIs are performing in a stacked format. Why would you want to do this? Because if it's 2 circuits going to a tower site, like even an odd EVCs, or maybe it's multiple circuits going off a physical NNI connection, you can sum up the performance and capacities of all these circuits, and you can quickly see what that physical capacity is being used on. So if it's 100 meg capacity here, maybe it's time to upgrade. If this was more realistic of a real life environment, you'll probably be looking at a 10 gig, 100 gig interface, and you'll quickly see, is it time to do my upgrade or not? And which particular EVCs are using the most capacity. So I'll close that down now. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over to our report manager. And our report managers allow you to run reports, and there are 4 categories of reports that we support. We support availability reports, and this shows you literally your network availability, your SLA availability of your circuits, performance reports, different types of performance statistics that go with your reports, how do they meet your SLAs, your application, your baseline statistics, packet loss utilization, different types of template reports, which are very key in generating wireless backhaul reports. We have 2 reports, one called the wireless report and mobility report, that are designed specifically for a lot of the tier 1 carriers out there. We also have a composite report that really will take the best of both worlds of an EVC, combine them into one, and give you what the composite scoring of that is, both from a performance metric perspective and availability perspective. And we don't just look at like the past month and give you an average of that. We literally go into each individual raw minute and take the best of both worlds, because you're offering a composite service to your customer and giving you the full composite scoring afterwards. We also have different types of custom reports as well, and I'm going to show you some of these really quick. The custom reports are designed so that you can literally build your own reports however you would like. Now, you heard me use the term self-subscription quite a few times now. And for both our events and report managers, we allow users, if you decide to give them the ability to do so, to self-subscribe to their own reports. So if I was interested in the SLA availability report on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, all I got to do is subscribe to them, and they'll hit my mailbox in rich HTML format and an attachment of that report as well. So every morning in a daily one, I'll have it. Every weekly or at the end of every month, I'll have it as well. So very simplistic to allow someone to self-subscribe. Or they may choose their own, run their own report dynamically in the system. They'll be able to log into the portal, and I'll just look at and demonstrate the SLA percentage report really quick. This is for the last 24 hours, but you can quickly see here that my circuits are green. They're meeting my SLA availability threshold to 3.9. Here's my uptime. Here's my downtime. Oh, by the way, there was 7 seconds of downtime here for the circuit. Why? I can select it. It'll even drill down to the date, time, where the downtime is being measured. And if you want to audit this information, you can click the little stopwatch, and you can even create tickets in our system for outages and maintenances right away, just in case someone was spot checking and auditing it and missed something. And you can report all this information. Awesome. And I do have a maintenance period in here for that outage that you saw in my visual dashboard graph earlier as well. So that's why the circuits are in the green state. Okay. Performance statistics report, same thing. I can look at it from my performance stats perspective, and it'll show me my same 4 circuits with the different statistics. I have different types of template reports, like the wireless report, for example, and you can pick and choose to run these on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. It's really up to you to queue up the reports to determine what time frame you're interested in running them for. You can attach those special custom labels you need, like ACNAs, bands, FA codes, and LADAs, along with address information as well. And then you can run the report, and I'll just load up a copy of a report here. This is the same 4 circuits we've been looking at through our demonstration. You can see our ACNAs, our bands, FA codes. I can scroll over here. I got my addresses for these facilities, my lat long information, and then the report really hits the actual interesting information. Let's scroll there and stop a second, catch up. You'll see the circuit ID, my data delivery ratio. You'll see a pass-fail for my data delivery ratio based upon my thresholds that have been set in here. So one of them passed and 3 of them unfortunately have failed. I'll look at my round trip average information here. We also do include all the mins, the maxes, the standard deviations as well, the thresholds. Again, all pass or fail. These have passed from a round trip perspective. And you get the point here, frame jitter. We also do MTTR. We do TTRs for time to repair, the mean time to repair for your entire LADA, your overall circuit availability, and again, pass-fail components associated with it. And you can export this report at any time and be able to just simply run this report, mail it to someone, or again, you can allow your customer to sign in themselves to pick up a report or sign up and get their own monthly report through the self-subscription service also. Okay. Now, what happens for those that say, well, we really like your different reports, but we really have our own thought process, just like custom profiles. There are certain KPIs that are more important to us. There are certain things we want to show our customers. That's where the custom report editor comes in. So you can quickly go in. I've got a couple here, so I'll just edit one really quick to show you what I've got set up. And you can have a custom report name. You can add your report description in here. There's different tabs here to select from different statistics. We got performance statistics here. I've got different types of round trip, jitter, packet loss measurements selected. I have utilization statistics selected as well. You can put your thresholds in, like my two-way SLA average threshold, for example. I can add more of my different labels that I have. And again, those are the custom labels that you can enable in our system and use for additional descriptors. And then we have different general information as well. Do I want to include like the secondary name, what domain or market it's in, a report header, a report footer. And then we have a really neat feature called time filtering as well. And this is where you can decide to enable it and say, I want to run a report between the business weeks, so the business days of the week, Monday through Friday, from maybe 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now, you wouldn't necessarily do this for a wireless carrier customer because their networks are 24/7, healthcare networks are 24/7, but you may want to do this for some of your enterprise customers, like the school districts, the governments of the world, some retail customers. So this feature really allows you to do time of day reporting filtering in any of the custom reports as well. So very neat feature there. I can move to the next screen here, and just like our custom profiles, very intuitive in terms of how to sort my different statistics. Scott told me again, I want my data delivery ratios first, so I'm going to put that up there. And since this is a report, Scott, I'm going to have to probably say I probably want my circuit name up front just so I know what circuit it's really related to, Scott, that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and save this report now, and now where my report's saved. Okay, I can go and look at my custom report, the one I just created, and I'll load my circuits up. Notice it's got my circuit ID column, it's got my data delivery ratio, which is what I sorted first because that was more important, that Scott wanted to see. And I can scroll over and see all the different KPI statistics that go with this custom report as well. And if I want to export this to CSV, I can simply click a button, voila, it exports up, open it up in Excel and whatnot. Now on the screen, I have to point this out because I know there are some wireless carriers listening on this webinar as well. But on the screen, we do 2 decimal points precision. But anytime you export any of our reports, it's full precision of the metric, even the calculated ones. What does that mean? We don't round, we don't truncate. It is the full precision value of that particular stat, even if it's out to 23 decimal places. I always warn people, if you open in Excel, Excel will kind of round for you right away. So you got to click in the cell or move your decimal precision over, and you'll see that full exported precision level in the report system. Okay, and that's our custom report feature there. I'm going to flip over to our admin manager section really quick. There's one thing I'd love to show you folks, and that is I'm logged in as an administrator right now, so I have full access to the system. But the question always comes up, what do my customers see? Maybe I'm really looking forward to giving my customer access to the system now. What can they see when I configure it? How do I ensure I configured it correctly? Or they're calling in asking about a question, you want to support them. So I'm going to go to our user editor really quick, and I'm going to search for a user called Archu2. This is a user that I've created. He's in the financial services user level. I'm going to right click and I'm going to virtualize this user. And what this really means is I'm going to see through their eyes what they see in the portal if they were to sign into the system. Okay. Now the portal changes. Up top you get a banner that says you're currently in user virtualization mode. He has access to only 2 menu options now and not all 5. I still see my welcome messages because I'm targeting these messages for him. So I'm going to click Circuit Manager. Now, again, this is a financial customer, so lo and behold, his domain structures in terms of what he sees is different. He only sees the 6 circuits that are assigned to him in the financial client domain. He's got different custom profiles here that he has access to, but not all of them. So I'm going to simply click Financial Client, and he sees 6 different circuits. They're all in a green, healthy state, and this is a great time for me to point out, too, that not only do we monitor point-to-point services, we can also monitor it with the access mile into like a network or be representative of a cloud-based service transport solution or internet type solution transport, or even a IPVPN network where you're selling a network-based performance and availability to your customer versus just the last mile service. So we also offer those types of service assurance methodologies as well. But nonetheless, these are the 6 circuits that my customer sees. He's got access to this custom review profile. It loads up. Here's my statistics. I don't have any throughput assigned to them yet. And then up top here, you'll see that there's a new menu option called Moderator Manager. And what is a Moderator Manager? So if you were to provide access to your customer and they said, hey, I want 40 people to have access to the system, and 13 of them forgot their password, 2 of them left the company, I've got 4 more people hired on, I want to give them access, you really don't want to turn your network operations into a user management system for your end customers. It was a customer portal that's designed to be easy. Why should it add more work for our folks? It shouldn't. As a matter of fact, when we work with our end customers today, we have 87 global customers, and we ask them from a NOC and operations perspective, say we really see a drop in call reduction about 17%. So it really frees up and increases the efficiency. So the last thing you want to do is have them get inundated by someone that wants user changes. So you can decide in your customer base who gets to be a moderator. So think of them as a sub-admin, and they can log in and they can manage their own user list that they can manage themselves. So they can add people, edit people, change passwords, do whatever they need to, and you can also limit how many users they have. So back to that monetization, you can set them up to only allow 12 users, and you can sell them more and allow them to have more people use the system. Now, our system is fully integratable from a single sign-on perspective. So if you're already doing like a billing portal and you want to just integrate this through a single sign-on, be the identity management provider, you can manage all the user authentications within your system as well. We actually have customers that do both single sign-on. At the same time, they also do wholesale customers where they provide moderator access to their larger wholesale customers. And again, this is just what I like to call user virtualization mode. It's called looking through the eyes of the user, if you will. So I'm going to exit out of this and show you one final feature, as I know we're coming up on our webinar hour, and I want to make sure we have a few minutes for Q&A, is I'm going to go back to the Circuit Manager, and there's another key self-subscription service that we offer in our platform today, and it's dynamic bandwidth on demand. And this ties really well in when people are looking at further virtualizing and orchestrating your network to offer an SDN NFV-based solution to your wireless customers and carriers. And this one feature demonstrates our ability to just simply make an orchestrated change on the bandwidth of a circuit. So I'm going to use this circuit as a demonstration. If you notice, my CIR is currently set to 50 megs. If I scroll down here, utilization-wise, you see that now my traffic's generating. I'm running I was at 100 megs and I lowered my CIR rate to 50 megs. My traffic's still being pumped through it, and I'm right at 49.985 megs. So now I know that it's time to add more capacity because really my threshold, my CIR rate is 50 megs. So the customer can simply scroll down, request bandwidth. And again, you don't have to enable this for them, but you could. And if you do, the customer says, oh, what bandwidth upgrades am I allowed to attempt to upgrade my circuit to? So I'm at 50, I want to go to 100 megs. You can even rename the bandwidth profiles by name as well, gold and platinum. So I'm going to go to 100 megs here, and we're going to...
I'll pay for it, Ray.
All right. Scott's going to pay for this. Thank you, Scott. I'm going to submit this request into the system. A little message pops up, and it says your dynamic bandwidth change has been successfully submitted into the system. Now what happens in the system? So we have two different methods that you can pick and choose for this dynamic bandwidth change request. One, you can say that when they hit the submit request, it gets sent via an email to your provisioning, your financial, your sales group, so they can then process it. Some carriers still feel a little bit leery about letting someone truly orchestrate and then automate that bandwidth. What they're afraid of is giving away free bandwidth, right? So that can simply get sent to a group via email distribution and let them follow up with the customer. The second method is to allow it in real time, that you'll actually approve their bandwidth change request in real time and allow that change to occur. Now, what happens with our platform and our system is if a circuit's approved for that kind of a bandwidth change to occur, it'll actually go back and say, okay, we're going to talk to the SDN controller or network controller or like an open daylight controller and say, we're going to make this bandwidth change, submitting this bandwidth change. And the controller performs the CAC functionality to determine if the capacity is available or not. And I didn't get a chance to finish my description, and ours is completed. So I'll just click it here. And you'll see here that the bandwidth is now changed to 100 megs. So we're good there. But what happens is the controller will say, yes, we're going to allow the change, or we're going to deny the change. But let's say it did say it was changed successfully. It sends us back the information so that it's completed its change, but we don't stop there. We will fully version that change. And what that means is now we're going to check through our connectors again to make sure that the CIR rate successfully changed. And if it is, we'll send notification to the billing platform to let them know the change has occurred at this date for this service, for this customer, so you're not accidentally giving away free bandwidth. That's what a lot of our customers are afraid of. So once that's completed, we'll then send out a notification, as well as you saw the notification pop up on the portal that said the bandwidth change was completed successfully. And I can see here now that my bandwidth is at 100 meg. So we're good to go now. And my service can continue. My traffic's going to continue to grow here over a period of time. In the next collection interval, you'll see that capacity jump back up to this 100 meg line rate. So that's the final item I wanted to show, really, from a bandwidth on demand perspective. And that's really on demand. We're also adding in the ability to do calendarization functionality. So if a customer has data replication between midnight and 4 a.m., for example, they can set that up and it'll go through the same process, but then it'll lower their bandwidth so they're not paying for capacity when they don't need it and it's not required. Okay. So I think with that, I'm going to turn it over back to the audience here to see if there's any questions and answers that we could, help with.
Thanks, Ray. This is Kyle again. We've had a few questions come in, and if anyone has any more of those, please submit them via the Q&A. First one we got in, so earlier it was stated that you are a technology independent. What does that mean, and what technologies do you exactly support?
That is a very good question, and really technology agnostic is what I like to call us. And that means that we actually will work with any type of technology manufacturer or vendor out there and integrate their capabilities into our system and portal. As Scott mentioned and provided a little bit of a background, our LB Networks as a company as a whole, we are very proficient in helping our customers understand network technologies. And so when we developed this platform, we wanted to make sure we were neutral to all these platforms. That means we don't resell any hardware. We don't actually say one hardware vendor is better than another. We allow our portal to be integrated through those 300 different KPI connectors, and really the portal itself will showcase it. And the other thing about it is, the part two of that question is, how many vendors do we support today? We have over 300 connectors today, and that includes 96% of the carrier Ethernet products that are deployed today, both from customers that have the legacy technologies, the newer technologies over the last 2-3 years, the new technologies being deployed now as well. We have very good partnerships with them, so even though I say we stay neutral to these technology vendors, we have very good partnerships with them so that we're learning about what's the best way to optimize our collectors to ensure we're getting that best data collection of your 1731, your T1 statistics that are being tested and generated under those different technologies.
All right, thanks. Next question we had in, so earlier you had some KPI graphs. What tools and or technologies are those based on?
So our entire platform, being Webscale based, is 100% self-developed by ourselves. So the entire code base and intellectual property of the Ocular IP platform is developed in-house. The second piece of that is we do use some open source libraries out there that exist as well. So in terms of like the KPIs themselves, they're just built into our data warehouse for analytics purposes. How we collect them is through our collectors. The graphing pieces of them, we use a couple different libraries out there. If someone's interested, I can certainly share those with you, but they are open source libraries that we use so that they're kind of, very high polished graph based and whatnot.
All right, next question. Does the platform do service availability reporting?
Reading the question here myself. So the question is, do you have service availability reporting? Do you do active testing to ensure wireless is always available? Yeah, so from a PMR perspective, from the different technologies, we don't actually generate the synthetic test measurements. That's the real big kind of like key of success that we have, is to have those 300 different connectors that communicate with the PMR technology that generate the synthetic test, and we're just collecting that statistics and information for service assurance and reporting purposes.
And then another question we had come in: what type of interfaces do you require from the technology vendor?
We're really kind of think of it as, I like to say, back to that technology agnostic again. Really, it comes down to how that technology generates the synthetic test and how it can be collected from it. Typically, it's going to be some sort of management interface or Ethernet interface that we collect from, but the test measurements themselves can be generated and run over any type of technology. It could be technology agnostic. It could be IP services, Ethernet services, wave services, for example, optical services. So it's really agnostic from the technology from that standpoint. Okay,
great. Next question: do you meet the latest AT&T monthly reporting requirements?
That's an excellent question, and we do.
Since today's the 10th.
Yeah,
people might be asking that.
It's kind of funny because I was doing this demonstration. Today is May 10th, and typically AT&T requests their report on the 10th. We have multiple versions that we supported for AT&T reporting based upon our customer requirements selling to AT&T, a RAN backhaul infrastructure service. And we have different versions, and every version that we release every year is compliant from what AT&T requires for the reporting.
Okay, great. Next question we had come in. What is the installation and turn-up process with Ocular IP?
So our implementation and deployment process is extremely easy and very simple. Literally, the portal that you're seeing right now is used to log into the entire system. The administrator uses this for all of the management capabilities. You do all your setup of your domains, your customer profiles, your reports, just like I demonstrated it, so just like I did. And in terms of what's deployed in the customer environment, the customer can either decide to do their own data collection, or we make it very easy. When my analogy is always like, hey, go out to a Best Buy or an Office Max, you buy a little broadband router, you bring it back to the office, you unshrink wrap it. And so we have a collector appliance that you deploy in your network, and that's a collector appliance. You just put an IP address on there, it activates, zero-touch provisioning, the activation back to our data center, and then the service is up and running.
Okay, great. Another question we had come in is, so is the Ocular IP solution exclusively in the cloud where customers have to send their metrics to your data center?
So I'll answer that question. The answer is yes. Ocular IP platform is a SaaS-based solution, software as a service solution, but don't misconstrue it with cloud-based solutions out there in shared clouds. We run and operate multiple private data centers, so we keep your data completely compartmentalized and secure from that standpoint. And we also provide a deterministic platform, so we know what performance you're getting as a customer in our systems all the time. So the answer is yes, but it is run in a private cloud, not a shared cloud, and we do have multiple data centers throughout the globe.
All right, looks like we have time for just about 2 more questions. So the first one, how do you associate a business name with a circuit ID, such as a SAP A to Z?
That's another very good question. So our system automatically will detect the services names that are being collected out in the network. So you'll have a service, you'll set up a test measurement service. That name may be, ABC. We automatically detect that, and then we can automatically collect data for it and provision it right into our system. And then that service name would match with your circuit inventory or customer inventory metadata information, And that, as I explained earlier, would be automatically enriched, if you will, through our API, or you could also kind of use our bulk provisioning method to enrich that data as well.
All right, looks like we got another question in, so let's do 2 more here. Does
Sure.
the Ocular... Okay, cool. So does Ocular IP have the capability to monitor virtual circuits created by virtual boxes?
Absolutely. Really, when you think about it, the test measurements that are being made out there are over virtual EVCs already. But now as we enter the world of SDN and NFV, and people are deploying open boxes, like open flow boxes, to provide routers and switching functionality, NFV function, and then you provision a flow within those NFVs and open boxes, we can then gather that PM stats off those as well, and they just show up as a regular service in our Ocular IP platform as well.
Hey, Kyle, on that, I just want to add, on the RCR site, we have a white paper that addresses that as well. So that's an excellent question, and it'll probably be a future topic for a presentation demonstration as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll also send out a link to that white paper to everyone in attendance today, shortly after this webinar, along with a recording of today's webinar. So it looks like we have time for one more question. So can one use their own URL for the customer portal and tie it into other portal applications?
Yes, absolutely. Because it was designed to be a customer portal and through single sign-on integration, we really want your customers, when they log into your system and they click the PMR link, whatever link it may be, to automatically pull up the Ocular IP portal, but it won't say Ocular IP on it. It'll be completely private branded for you as your carrier name, color, marketing colors. I like to call it your marketing corporate authority, and it can be also your own URL as well. So while ours right now in the demo is our ocularip.com one, you could certainly use your own URL and redirect to the right zip IP that we'll provide for you through the private branding feature.
All right, great. That's about all the time we have today. I want to thank everyone for attending today's Local Backhaul Networks webinar, Why SLA Reporting is Table Stakes for Wireless Backhaul. Again, our presenters today were Scott Shelley, VP of Business Development, and Raymond Chu, CTO, both of Local Backhaul Networks. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone else.
Thank you, everybody.